I think so the biggest nightmare was for me that destroyed everything in me was September 11 attacks. Point I had to change my name from Mohammad to Michael.
He's not just in the game, he's helping shape the rules.
I want to be the first minister for cryptocurrencies in the world.
Mohamed Al Hakim is the president of Crypto.com GCC and the first Arab to lead a global crypto giant in the region. From transforming regulation to introducing blockchain to government payments, he's here to unpack high-stakes decisions, hard-earned insights, and building from the ground up.
My whole entire goal is, first thing, to educate the market when it comes to crypto. Number two, to make sure crypto is available to everyone as a day-to-day transaction.
Oh, wow.
We have more than 114 million users. We had about $2 trillion worth of volume in 2024.
But then what about that risk of, like, what if it gets hacked, for example?
Advices are for free today. Read before you know what you're going to get through. Don't believe these videos that you see on TikTok or Instagram. Oh, I invested $2,000, I became a millionaire within day and night.
What can you tell us about power that most people don't understand? Tell me, what was your childhood like, and when did you start thinking, I wanted to do something different?
First of all, thank you for having me today. So if I go back to my childhood was not any kind of childhood. I left the UAE on a very early age. I went to Australia, where my family, my mother especially, believed in giving me and providing me a better education than what was available here in the UAE. And of course, every mother would want the best for their kids at the end of the day. So, but my mom went to an extreme level, sending me to Australia.
How old were you at the time?
I think I was about 11. I was very young still. I still remember the first day I was in a boarding school. And I still remember her telling me, I'll see you after the weekend. And she disappeared after the weekend. And here I was all alone. But why did I say I had, it was not any normal childhood? Because I was living in a country where I was as a foreigner. A country that was closed to the world, that was not very open, not very familiar. A country where whatever is shown on TV at that time, they would believe it. And moving down the line, 2-3 years down the line, I think so the biggest nightmare was for me that really destroyed everything in me was September 11 attacks. And being as an Arab, as a Muslim, a part of that community, and being so young, I never thought I would be bullied, had a lot of racist comments against me for being an Arab and Muslim, to a point I had to change my name for a while, from Mohammad to Michael.
Wow.
And some people that do remember me in Australia, still time to time, if I bump into them here in Dubai or in Dubai Mall, they will look at me and say, Michael, how are you? So it's sticked actually to me, the name Michael, and it was let me say a very difficult time. But then at the same time, I had a few good Australian friends around me. Yes, it was tough, getting beaten up, bullied, sworn at, having all these.
This would happen all the time or sometimes?
Well, it happened actually the first three. Say after September 11, so 2001, 2, 3, I think so was the toughest time of my life. And I think so that was a time where I realized that, this world is not a fun world to be in. There were a lot of times where I just wanted to switch off and get out. But again, I still remember I would call and they would say, nope, stay. You're a strong person. You can do it.
And did you have like older brothers that went there before you, or were you the first?
No, I was the first. So I was the first Arab actually to be accepted in that school.
Wow.
And I think so. Then that motto went on with me, being the first Arab doing this, being the first Arab doing that, and I still remember there was a time where, in 2005, 4 or 5, where it was the first time I met. The late His Highness Sheikh Maktoum bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Allah yarhamah yaghfir lah, the ex-UAE Vice President, Prime Minister, and the ruler of Dubai. One of the most amazing people I ever met, as they say, as a stop in my lifetime. And I still remember I could not speak Arabic the first time I met him, and he would make fun of me and I didn't have a clue who he was, to be honest. Being far away from the UAE, so and growing up, you still, these faces are, at the age of 14, 15, 16, you start getting familiarized to who the leaders are in this country. But at the younger age, it takes you time to.
And did you meet him in Australia? Or in here?
Yeah, I met him actually in Australia, and then Allah yarhamah, he passed away also in Australia. So a nice moment for me, but I met him in Australia, and it was a sad moment for me seeing him dying in Australia. And he always had that connection with Australia when it comes to horses, because he used to love breeding horses. Godolphin was one of the fun things that he had. And he would always, look at me and smile and say, "You will always be different." And
he used to say that to you?
Yes, and I never understood it. What does that mean? Where does he come from? And I still remember that one night walk that I took with him and his friends that were walking with him, and it was about 49 minutes walk. We walked literally all the way from Surface Paradise to his hotel where he was staying at the Versace Hotel. And, I still remember it was a pitch clear night, full moon. The weather was nice. It was during just beginning of summer, that is in December, because as you know, Australia is right opposite than on the equator. So summer is winter, winter is summer here in the UAE. But yeah, I still remember walking with him, and he kept looking at me saying, "The things that you have done as an Emirati, no Emirati has done it." And I never understood what he meant, because I always thought what I'm doing is the same thing what everyone else is doing here in the UAE. But subhanallah, like, it took me, I think it's a year to understand that this guy is not a normal person that I'm talking to in front of me, is actually a decision maker in this country. And when there was a few times where he did say that, inshallah, once you finish your university, I have to introduce you to my brother Mohammad. And I didn't, at that time, I still didn't know who his brother Mohammad was. And subhanallah, he was a man he was humble, down to earth. You would never see one thing in him that says that I'm the UAE vice president, the prime minister, or the ruler of Dubai. I still remember the first time he introduced himself was Maktoum. He said, "You can call me Uncle Maktoum." And he knew I didn't speak Arabic, so his English was not as strong as you would expect, but he knew how to get the message out there.
Right.
And majority of the time he would call me the Aussie Arab kid, but he was full of fun, a father figure, I would say. And I would always was impatient for him when would he arrive and get that phone call that Sheikh Maktoum has arrived to Gold Coast, for me to go and meet him and to see him, and just spending that day or two or three before he goes to Melbourne Cup, or before he goes to Sydney, or before he goes to his farmhouse.
You'd see him every year?
Yeah, so I started seeing him from 2003, 4, and 5. I saw him in 5, and then I actually saw him just a few days before he passes away. So I came back to Dubai, and then I still remember that morning waking up and opening the TV, and I could just see his picture. Until now I remember his agal was that squeezed in agal, and it was just an Allah wa inna ilayhi raji'un, and it was a very painful moment for me. But then it took me time. That's where I think I got realized, or things started getting cleared up to me as I was maturing in life at the age of 18.
Then you said you were in the Commonwealth then, the Commonwealth Bank.
Yes, I was there at the Commonwealth Bank, and that's when I said to myself, life is not the same as what you think it is. Here you have someone as Sheikh Maktoum bin Rashid that was loved in the horsing world, that was very influenced as a political leader, but he's left this world today, and he's not taking anything with him. But people still talk about him in a high, respected way. We still say في زمن مكتوم, and it was a time where I realized, and I said to myself, you know what, Mohammed, I think so. This is also a lesson for you to learn that you will not take anything from this world other than love, respect, and people remembering you in a good way. And that's what all we all need as humans at the end of the day. It's nice to have that money, that assets, that cars, the yachts, whatever you want to say. But again, it's something temporary.
You said such a good line. You said love, respect, and a good name.
Yeah.
That's all that's left.
Yeah, that's all that's left. And it took me actually some time to realize this. And every time I would go and, as you know, in the Muslim world, you go to pray on the person that has passed away. And you always see, or the mosque is filled up with people, or you see the mosque is half or 10, 20 people.
What does that tell you about the person?
Tells me about when I see a place is filled up and I see hundreds of people are standing there. And it's a perfect example when Sheikh Zayed, Allah yarhamah. Of course, Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed, Allah yarhamah, passed away. It was during COVID, but you could see when Sheikh Zayed passed away, Sheikh Maktoum when he passed away. For instance, Queen Elizabeth when she passed away. Hundreds of thousands of people came out to pay their respect. Why? Because that person left something good for that world to remember. And you go back today and you say to yourself, now when you are praying on a businessman or someone normal, you'll always see hundreds of people being over there. And you ask yourself, who are these people? I've never seen them before.
Right.
It's the first time.
So they've impacted so many lives, but they might not even be known to
Exactly.
until they die. And then you see everyone show up
Exactly.
and you say, wow, this person made a huge
Exactly.
impact. You spent many years working in the UAE government, and now you lead one of the biggest crypto companies in the world. What was their biggest challenge that they needed you to fix for them?
I think it's accepting crypto in this region, and for people to educate them about crypto. And I think so. I still remember 6 months ago speaking to a senior government official here in Dubai saying, why don't we do crypto payment as a payment method for people that want to do government services? And he was like, Mohammad, اطلع برا.
Oh no, because they still saw it as like not good, right?
What have you brought me? Money laundering? What is this?
Right.
And I was like, pardon me? He was like, no, what crypto? Crypto is full of black money, it's money laundering, blah, blah, blah. I kept, as he was saying and talking, I was like, if you are as what you say you are, you would know that in the crypto world, it's easier for you to track where this crypto payment is coming from or where this Bitcoin is being generated from than me giving you 100 dirhams or giving you $10 where you don't know where that is coming from. So it took me some time of convincing. And alhamdulillah, that same person that told me it's not possible is the person that actually stood beside me at Dubai FinTech Summit. And there I was signing the MOU.
So you signed for the UAE to accept crypto payments?
For Dubai, yes.
For Dubai to accept crypto payments. This must have been a wow. I mean, that's huge.
It's huge, yes. I will not say I'm still not facing some challenges. I am still facing some challenges, but for them to accept the initiative was a very big step for me.
And is it like a trial period and then it later becomes a full thing, or is it already like a full law?
It's going to be full implementation. So we're going to start with a few government departments, and then from there we're going to, as I say, we're going to then take it to the other sector. We are working on a few other projects right now that I can't announce yet, but there are some interesting projects. But again, as I said 9 months ago when I joined Crypto.com, and I made it very clear at the Sharjah Entrepreneurship Festival that my whole entire goal is, first thing, to educate the market when it comes to crypto.
Right.
Number two, to make sure crypto as available to everyone as a day-to-day transaction. If you want to go and buy your airline tickets, if you want to book your hotels, you want to pay your electricity bills, you want to do whatever it is when it comes to crypto, that's my whole entire intention. And I just want to be here in the UAE, but I'm actually looking at the GCC region.
So you were in banking and you got a call to join the aviation sector.
Yes.
And that's a big pivot. How did you rationalize that? Okay, so you studied public science, you said?
Political science, international relations and political science.
And then you did banking, and then you got a call from Etihad
It
Airways.
was Etihad Airways, yes.
Okay, and what did you feel at the time?
I was like, why should I go all the way to Abu Dhabi and work in Abu Dhabi? Of course, the salary was good at that time.
Abu Dhabi did at the time, yeah.
At that time, they were paying that amazing top-up fees, I like to call it. and I said, yeah, sure, why not? Let me try it out. If there isn't, I'll go back to banking again.
Yeah.
And I remember the moment I joined Etihad Airways, I was in sales.
Okay.
And that's where I knew that, no, I am a salesman. And I want to be in the sales sector. And, you being a salesman, you can work in any sector, literally.
What was that moment happen? Did you sell something to someone that you didn't expect? Or what made you realize?
Well, I think so the first thing was for me, the hardest thing was for me, was selling an airline ticket to someone and convincing someone to go fly from Dubai, not to fly with Emirates, and to fly on Etihad Airways. And
you had to call customers directly?
I had to call customers directly. I had leads. I had, as I say, some connections in the government. So I would look at that. And it was always trying to convince them. So being as a salesman, to give them discounted rates. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll speak to members of royal family. Slash tickets to 50% just to get the traffic into Abu Dhabi airport for them to try Etihad Airways' products and services, and then just get them hooked up.
And this was in which year?
So it was back in 2010, 11.
So it was still a new airline.
It was a very new airline. We were about 200 employees. There's a gentleman, I still, as we say in Arabic, دائما طريق الخير, that really taught me a lot when it comes to Etihad Airways, is His Excellency Harab al-Mheri, where he's currently in in Abu Dhabi Economic Department. And Harab, I still remember him telling me when he worked in Etihad Airways, his English was not strong. And, it forced him to reach where he is, where he reached at that time. And I still remember, going with him to meetings, learning about the aviation sector. Actually, he was the first person to teach me how to break down how much does the ticket cost, from fueling to cost of the seat.
What is the big cost in the ticket?
Fuel is always the biggest cost.
Fuel
is always the biggest cost.
Like what, 50% of the ticket?
About 30 to 40%. But then don't forget, you look at other things as cargo, your ticket, your F&B, and flight entertainment system.
From the things I read about you online, you have even bigger wins.
I do, and after ADS Securities, I actually had to take a small stop in life. I was not well for a while. I came back then to the UAE, and of course I resigned from ADS Securities because I have this mentality that says I'm against if I have something going on in my personal life, I need to stop everything that I'm doing right now. And when I was sick at that time, I made sure that I resigned. And a lot of people told me, Mohammed, you're stupid. You should not be doing this. If the government has a law that provides UAE nationals to keep their salary, keep it. I was like, no, this is haram. I can't.
It's not fair.
It's not fair. There are other people that are in need of this money. Let me just go get treated, come back to the UAE.
Yeah.
And there are always other options for me to go. And I still remember I came back in 2018, I remember, and I was on a job hunt. And every time I would go and apply for a job, people would say to me, you are overqualified. You are...
The worst thing you can hear. You know how many times that happened?
Yeah.
It's like saying no, but not saying no. And you're like, what does it mean?
I still ask myself, what does overqualified mean? And yeah, it's thinks it's something what HR enjoys doing. But yeah, I did about 19 interviews at that time, and all of them got rejected. At the end, I actually myself approached His Excellency Sheikh Mohamed bin Sagar al-Naimi, who's currently the Assistant Undersecretary for Support Services at the Ministry of Human Resources, and I told him I'm looking for a job, and he was like, I do have a position if you're interested, but it does not pay you well. I was like, I'm ready to take anything if I need to prove myself. And that's where I realized that, okay, why not try the government for a while? I went on for 6 years. I worked for the government. It was career-wise, it was one of the best times to know for me how the government operates in life. So I started there as head of department to a director, and I still remember, there were 2 days that were very tough, especially during COVID, and being a part of the Ministry of Human Resources and Amortization, we played a pivotal role at that time, shaping the work place here in the UAE. And for government like the UAE government today, I always like to say, in 2021, I still remember when when Sheikh Mohamed Al Rashid announced the top 10 initiatives for the next 50 years for the UAE, and one of them was the amortization program. And I did play a role when it comes to that amortization program, and jumping. I still remember when Nafis was announced. We're jumping from Abu Dhabi all the way to Dibba Fujairah, all the way to Al Ain, back to Dubai. And it was, I always say, also another person I really learned a lot from was from His Excellency Ghannam al-Mazrou'i, who was Secretary General for the Nafis Council, that always goes out of his way to make things possible for the UAE nationals that are looking today for jobs. So I think for me at that time, being at the ministry, having that opportunity, I was very, first of all, grateful for His Excellency Sheikh Mohammad giving me that opportunity. But he did say to myself, you will need to prove yourself, and prove that.
And what was it that you had to prove?
A lot of things. So I was doing 10 things at once, to be honest. And majority of the time I would be a one-man show. Yes, I would have a nice big title, but I would not have a very strong team to. I ended up actually in the ministry then running the sponsorship program for the ministry, and that sponsorship program would cover, let's say, all the initiatives that the ministry has all year. And having a ministry like the Ministry of Human Resources, where they have more than 400,000 companies, more than 7 million labor contracts underneath them. So you have from beginning of the year, from New Year's Eve to National Day to Eid al-Adha to Eid al-Fitr.
They plan for all of that.
For all of that.
But how did it feel?
And this is not funded by the government, by the way. This
Okay.
is all funded through sponsorship. And I remember last year I raised about 40 million dirhams. The year before that, 25 million dirhams.
And where does this money go when you say sponsorships? Like, who gets the money?
Goes for the events. So setting up the event from A to Z, bringing the labor community to these events. We started the Emirates Labour Market Award, where it costs the government 0 dirham. It's all paid by the sponsors. It's one of the largest initiatives today for the Ministry of Human Resources, where we celebrate the unsung heroes of the labor community.
Wow, because they build
CEOs,
the builders, yeah.
Yeah, to the builders, so it goes to everyone. There are about 7-8 categories of awards over there. This year there's about 100 winners, 90 to 100 winners, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it's an interesting time, when I was there. And then I think this is where the interesting part happened. So I was during my last tenure or last few months in the ministry, I was accepted, not because I'm an employee, but I applied for Sheikh Mohamed Al Rashid Leadership Development Program that is under the Mohamed Al Rashid Leadership Center, that I thought I will never get into it. And that was my dream, by the way, for the last 9 years, to get into this program. Why? Because I would always hear a leader in this country saying, when I was in this program, or when I entered this program, I was like, when will this day come? I will enter this program. And to be honest, the moment I got that phone call saying that I got accepted, please come for the final interview, it was, I think a phone call that really changed the way I thought about everything from that moment, that second.
Wow.
And,
so what did you learn in the Mohamed Al Rashid program that they didn't teach you already in the government job?
a lot of things.
Like what?
being patient, taking opportunities, taking responsibilities, taking challenges and making it into opportunities. So a lot of things, to be honest. Mohamed Al Rashid, our MBRCLD, changed the way that I look at my life. In
Really?
general. Yes. So from someone that never used to work out, works out today 5 to 6 times a week. For someone
So the
that
Mohamed Al Rashid program influenced how you work out?
to how I worked out, how I have a life-work balance, and it actually pushed me to leave the government and enter the private sector.
Wow.
Yes, and that's how I entered into crypto.com, being, as I say, the first Arab, the first GCC national. So I go back again.
Wow, so Mohamed Al Rashid leadership program got you to rethink your life, not just
Yes.
your work, but
Yes.
also your personal life,
Yes.
how you think about things.
Yes.
And then you thought, let me go back into the private.
Yes, I still remember the day that I got the offer from crypto.com. And it was, let me say, the toughest decision I ever took in life. And this year's Mohamed Al Rashid's leadership program was built on Sheikh Mohammed Al Rashid's legacy, the last 50 years of his legacy. And we were at UK at that time in Sandhurst.
Sandhurst.
And I still remember walking out of Sandhurst that day, receiving the email from my phone. And a good friend of mine that was a part of the program, Mohamed Al Hakim, comes up to me and says to me, Mohammed, what's wrong? Are you okay? Are you sick? I was like, I'm fine, but I've just received a job offer. And he was like, huh? I was like, I just received a job offer. And he looked at it and he's like, where? I was like, crypto.com. I was like, go for it.
Wow.
I was like, no, يا أخي, wait, خلني أستخير. I want to pray, let me see. He was like, I'm telling you, go for it. I was like, sure, let me have a look.
Was he someone that you respected a lot?
He was someone that when we entered the program, as we say in Arabic, لا أنا كنت أبلعه ولا هو يبلعني.
Yeah.
Suddenly, we becoming very close to each other.
Silent respect into friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually said it openly also on the day that we submitted our final project, saying, directing it to me, saying, the relationship how I started with Mohammed and when we entered the program to where we are today. And I think so that was I think so the decision that I took the moment I jumped on the flight back from London to Dubai. I accepted the offer, arrived back to Dubai, and the first thing I did was I put in my resignation.
But how did they know about you and reach out to you? Do you have any idea? Or
Well, there was some mutual people in the middle.
You hadn't applied, though?
I had not applied. Nothing came through application because, with these positions, it's all by recommendation at the end of the day. And so they did their digging on me. And I still remember when the offer came in, I was blunt shocked. I didn't know what to reply back. And yeah, I think so. That's the moment where I realized that, no, I need to leave the government. I think so I can give more to this world. I still remember the first day when the announcement came out. So I was working out in the gym. Someone sends me, or not someone sends me, there was a group chat that I was in that had 95 messages.
Wow.
And I opened and, as I was scrolling up, I could see, and everyone was writing in Arabic, ألف مبروك محمد, تستاهل. And here I see Barqa al-Imarat's news out, and I was like, whoa.
That's like the most credible thing here, Barqa al-Imarat, right? If it comes there, it's real.
It's real. And I was like, how did they find out? And suddenly, you would hear these. So I still have people that come up to me and call me, or I have this nickname in the community where people call me the Elon Musk of the UAE.
Wow.
And I keep saying to them, I'm still not worth $400 billion. The day where I'm personally worth $400 billion, then come and speak to me about that. But
you're thinking, the 400 billion doesn't come before the thinking.
Yes.
It comes. That's a result of thinking that was done a long time ago. So maybe they're not wrong about what they're saying.
Well, look, when I joined crypto.com, you spoke about challenges in the beginning, and it was a very challenging time. Why? Because crypto is still new to this region. If we look at crypto.com, it's one of the biggest companies or in the world today.
Mohammed, a lot of our viewers here are between 18 to about 35 years old. They really love crypto and tech. But if they wanted to start something now, without big connections, without big money, what is something that they can start today that will help them in their journey?
You know, people should take this as a lesson from me, from you, from anyone that is older to them. I don't say I'm 40 years old, but being in the mid-30s today, you would understand what are the mistakes you did when you wanted to start. And I always say to the young generations from the age of 18 to 35, advices are for free today. And I'm actually going to look at the camera to give them this advice. Advices are for free today. And it's good for you guys to read before you know what you're going to get through. It's not about just going and throwing your money in. So if you're planning to invest some money today in the crypto world, go into the crypto.com university, read what are the what are the materials that we have there today in crypto.com before entering the market. Ask people around you. Don't believe these videos that you see on TikTok or Instagram. Oh, I invested $2,000. I became a millionaire within day and night. Trust me, if that was it, I would be in the same situation. I'll be a millionaire right now. But it's not as what people sell it is. Number two, ask people always around you. Don't be shy. I've noticed the young generations, they're very shy, they're very protective, they don't want to talk. And that's a mistake. If you see someone that you're comfortable seeing just their face in front of you, tap the door. Say, I need help and I don't think so. Or I have an advice, or can we have a cup of coffee? I want to learn more. I don't think so anyone's going to say no. And if someone says no, that's very rude of them. But I do have people today that come and approach me and say to me, for instance, Mohammed, I have 100,000 dirhams. I want to put it all into crypto. I keep saying to them, no, don't take that risk. Put 40%, 50%, and the remaining keep it on the side because it's still something new for you. I don't want you tomorrow to come and blame me. You're the one that told me to put my money in. You're the one, because again, I don't have any interest in this. It's more of making sure the customer is happy, then I'm happy at the end of the day. And for me to have a happy customer is way more than important than me.
So not them go take leverage, blow up their account.
No.
You're saying, number one, educate yourself from the right sources. Don't find like an influencer that says, take 100x leverage, go and just you're going to become a millionaire overnight. That doesn't exist.
No, that does not exist. If it exists, I'll tell you where it exists, but trust me, it does not exist.
It doesn't exist.
I've not seen it in my lifetime. I don't know if it's going to happen in another lifetime, but it's not as what you think it is.
Even if you get it, right? Easy come, easy go.
Exactly.
Let's say you do a 100x trade and you actually bang and you hit it.
Yes.
What happens the next trade?
Exactly.
You're not going to beat the odds 99%, 1% every time.
But again, I look at it. I look crypto today as any other thing today happening in the traditional finance world. If it's you buying currencies, buying commodities, buying real estate, for instance, or whatever you want today as a return for investment, you always need to wait. Nothing's going to happen within day and night. And
what should be that ideal portfolio? Say, for example, I'm 30 years old. I get 10,000 dirhams or 12,000 dirhams. I live in Dubai. What should be the ideal portfolio? Like if I'm saving from my 12,000, 2,000 a month in cash, how much should I put in crypto from my cash? Or how do I do it? What is the strategy?
I don't want to be that person that's giving that advices, but I would always say be wise what you're going to be putting in. Because again, I don't want you to come tomorrow and blame that crypto company. I'm not saying crypto.com, but any crypto company that you're going to be dealing with. Yes, of course, I want you to be a part of crypto.com, but again, any crypto company that you're going to be dealing with, I don't want you to go back blaming them because they didn't give you the right advice or the right areas. I always say read, then go on the application, and always check what are the 5 most traded coins on that day, that month. Read the graphs, see everything that is in front of you, know how happy you are to put your money over there. Read about that specific product that you're going to be investing in, And then from there, you will get that gut feeling from inside if that's a good thing or the bad thing that you're doing on an investment side.
I really like what you said about look at what's traded a lot. There's no
Yeah.
point buying something with no
No,
transactions.
trying.
And then you get,
Yeah. And I think so. This is the mistake that a lot of people do, that they just want to go and throw their money in, and without them knowing what they're throwing their money in.
what's one value you will never give up on?
One value I'll never give up on. Actually, it actually took me time to realize that, and I would say family. Family is very important in every step you take in life. I'm very grateful for three people that I have, and that's only my family that I have today. Is my mothers and my sisters, both of them. They had the journey that they have taken with me from day one towards the time where I was sick to today where I am. I have to be very thankful and grateful for them. Their support around me is very important. And I'll not just say one value. The second value, I think, so as a person that was not very close to God, and it took me time for me to realize that, was praying. And that's another value as a Muslim that you always need to make sure you stay with it, is praying 5 times a day, respecting that 2-3 minutes that you have with God, and you're there to pray, to ask for directions at the end of the day. But again, family does play a very big role because they will lead you to the right areas. So it was my family who showed me the way to praying. Family is an emotion.
Family and religion, things you'll never give up on.
Never give up, because religion guides you,
Right.
and family guides you at the same time. But again,
100%.
going back, family is always the first thing that you need to look at, because they're the ones that are going to guide you. They're going to tell you what's right, what's wrong. No matter how old you get, you'll still have your mother teaching you, or not teaching you, talking to you as if you were a kid.
That never changes.
And that will never changes. But again, that's a good thing, because you know that person in front of you is not fake. It's your blood at the end of the day.
Exactly. You're the first person in the GCC to get a job like this at Crypto.
First Arab.
First Arab, right?
Yes.
Ever. Okay.
And everyone told me I was going to fail. Everyone told me that I was going to get fired in the next 2 months.
Like, did Crypto.com feel like just another job, or is it completely different than the other jobs you did?
Completely different. Something like about Crypto.com, and I'm not saying because I work for Crypto.com, but talking around with my colleagues in Crypto.com, the flexibility that you have.
Like, do you feel like it's a startup compared to other places you worked in?
Yes. So Crypto.com I still look at it as a startup, because don't look at us. We started in 2016. 10 years down the line, we're generating billions of dollars. We have trading volume worth to no one. Who would ever think that a crypto company back in 2016 or 17 or 18 or 19 would be as big as that? Till during COVID, people thought crypto was going to get collapsed, but look at us where today we are. BTC is at 106, 107.
Okay, Mohammed, you've seen how government works and how tech works. What can you tell us about power that most people don't understand?
Very interesting. I think so. In the government, it's easy for you to take a decision. But when you're in the tech world, it's easy for you to take a decision, but it's very hard for you to implement it, because you have to have the right technology, the right people when it comes to implementations. But then come sell that product to someone who's also another big step that you need to take. So working in the government is basically a legislation signed, done, out of
So you
the way.
said easier to make decisions, harder to make decisions, easier to implement.
Yes.
Here, easier to make decisions, harder to implement.
Yes.
Never thought about it
Yes,
that way.
Yes. But let me say, the tech world is an amazing world. I still remember before taking the job at Crypto.com, I called up a very close family friend. He's more of a father figure to me right now in my life. He's an ex-minister. And I still remember calling him, saying to him, "Uncle, I've received a job offer." And he was like, "Mohammed, take it." I was like, "But why?" He was like, "Take it." He was like, "Well," I was like, "People are telling me I'm going to get fired. Why should I? There's no job stability over here." He was like, "Mohammed, you're smart. People want you. You have proven yourself many times. You will stay in Crypto.com. If you lose your job tomorrow, there are other opportunities for you out there. And just think that if you take this, you'll be the first that is leading this." And I still remember on the flight back to London a few days ago, or yesterday, sorry, when on the flight back to London, I had a gentleman sitting beside me, and you know, sometimes we're inquisitive as human beings.
Yeah.
So he would see the cabin crew going back and forth and saying to me, "Mr. Hakim, can I get you anything, Mr. Hakim?"
Yeah.
So he goes in and Googles my name, and he literally turns left and he's like, "Ah, you're the president of Crypto.com." I was like, "Yes, sir." He's like, "Globally?" I was like, "No, not globally. I'm over here in the region." And we kept talking. So he told me, "What's next for you?"
Mm.
I was like, "I didn't think what's next for me." He was like, "No, but if you're the first Arab to take this, you should know what's next." So I was like, "Give me a few hours and I'll come back and I'll give it back to you." So I still remember it was a night flight, and with everything that was going on geopolitically.
Yeah.
As we were flying into Saudi Arabia, I woke up and there he is. He was looking at me and smiling and
Waiting for his answer.
And I was like, "Yes, sir." "You're waiting for the answer?" He was like, "Yes." I was like, "Just give me a minute." So I washed up, I came back, I sat in my seat. I looked at him, I was like, "I want to be the first minister for cryptocurrencies in the world."
Wow.
And he was like, "Huh?" I was not expecting that answer. I was like, "Well, you told me what's next for me." I was like, "This is what I'm planning to do." And I think so. We need to have similar government position, and I think the UAE is always good in taking leads in these things.
100%.
And in the UAE, the environment of having a business and being a part of the crypto world is very healthy, very friendly, and everyone wants to be here. But again, we need to make sure that we have all of these infrastructures available when it comes to the crypto world for the crypto users.
So you want to help on the infrastructure side, basically, on the government side.
Yes. I just don't want to do it here in the UAE. I want to do it on a global level, to be honest, if I have the opportunity of doing it. And I've offered my services a few times for free to help. Because at the end of the day, I do believe if someone is coming in regards to tokenization, if it's coming in regards to crypto, if it comes in regards in coin listing, whatever it is.
What do you think about tokenization? You're a smart guy. You're on crypto.com. You know how
I
it
see
works.
tokenization as a very successful product. I'll sell it to you in that way, where it's affordable to everyone. We could see recently the Dubai government announcing, or Dubai Land Department announcing the tokenization product or project for one of the properties, where in less than how many minutes they said it was sold out. I think so in less than an hour. 15 minutes,
they
whatever.
did like a couple
48
now.
minutes. Yeah.
It's
And for you to have that fractional ownership is way much cheaper than for you going and buying something that is worth 300,000, 400,000 dirhams.
like, could we get to a point where you have like a phone with an app where you have like 5 dirhams in a property in the UK, 5 dirhams in a property,
Yes.
basically tokenized properties
Yeah,
everywhere,
yeah,
and you have like a portfolio. So
Yeah.
instead of having one apartment, it's broken down.
Everything is possible today. Everything is possible. I like to use one of the banking apps always. They've done an amazing job when it comes to showing that person's portfolios. And if you go into Crypto.com's application, you'll be able to see everything that you have today and things that I would like to add also on it. And I've already spoken and gotten the approval is a few of the things when it comes to tokenization, when it comes to a few projects that we're working on that I want to make sure that's also available. So you as a human being today, you will be able to read all your portfolio under one place.
Crypto.com.
It's crypto.com.
And what about the stuff? So say, there's always this fear that if I leave my coins on the platform, then, I know I need to put it on a wallet, whether it's a cold wallet or a hot wallet. You're saying you leave it on crypto.com and it shows you basically everything, all your holdings.
Yeah.
But then what about that risk of like, what if it gets hacked, for example?
Alhamdulillah. I touch wood. When it comes to crypto.com, I think so. When it comes to our security protocols, I think so. We're one of the strongest. We're the strongest in the market today. Our security team is very, very strong. You would not imagine how strong they are. They're very strong. To a point, we as employees, they teach us also when we get these fishy emails, these things. How do we deal with them? How do we take these threats up? And it's become very. Very interesting.
If you were to become the minister of, inshallah you do. If you were to become a minister of crypto, what would you implement?
I think so the first thing I would implement is attracting the crypto companies, bringing them to the UAE. That's the first thing I'm going to do. Second of all, I'm going to keep the UAE the first country in the world to have crypto available in each service that is there. So if you're going to be paying by debit card or credit card, or if you're going paying through your cryptocurrency today, that's all available. Because at the end of the day, the more you give flexibility to the customer, the better the tourism is going to be, the better you're going to have numbers
Movement
of people.
movement of
Money, and so on. So the more access you give to people to use their funds, the easier it's going to be. You know, it's like that day I was speaking to someone and he wanted to charter a helicopter out of New York, and I was like, "How much do you think it's worth?" I was like looking online. I was like, "It's this much." He was like, "You know, Mohammed, I don't have this cash lying around in my bank account, but wait, I have money lying around in my crypto wallet. Let me sell it. I have your crypto.com debit card. I'll pay through that." I was like, "Oh, okay, interesting. You know, I never thought of that." So there are solutions where we have today in crypto.com when it comes to fiat solutions that we are offering people. Our rates are very competitive to the market.
So like a deposit, you mean a rate, or a rate as in transaction rate?
Transaction rates.
Okay.
Transaction rates.
So people are using it like a full
Yeah,
debit
yeah,
card?
yeah,
Like there are
yeah,
people
yeah,
living
yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah,
crypto.com
yeah,
card?
Yeah.
Okay, I should definitely check it out,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you know, to be completely honest, I don't wanna say, I personally see crypto as somewhere I park money and save, or maybe buy and trade, but to actually use it as a debit card, I don't. Oh wow, it's a nice card,
Very nice card. Very nice product.
and it's metal. Won't maybe pass a metal detector, but it's good.
It's very good. It's very good. You can use it everywhere it accepts MasterCard.
Really?
I actually was just now in London, and I was actually using it majority of the time for my food, for my drinks.
Are you serious, Mohammed?
Yeah.
I never even knew about
Yeah,
this.
Yeah.
And
So
anywhere with MasterCard.
anywhere with MasterCard, we do have Visa card products. It depends on the country that you're in. So we have Visa cards, we have MasterCards. So again, yeah, I was in London this time. I paid my hotels, and it was actually my first time using it.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, I was not using my local bank over here in the UAE. I was using more of my Crypto.com card, and I was using it with pride. You know, just tapping,
Yeah,
putting in.
exactly.
So it was a nice experience, as I say.
So if you were 25, what's the advice you'd give to yourself at 25?
At the age of 25, I did a lot of mistakes. And one of the mistakes was I went into a business that a lot of people advised me around me not to get into it. And it ended it very, very badly, to a point it reached to court. I had to reimburse a few things. And I was only the middle person. I was not the owner of the business or invested in that business. But it hit me very badly. But I wish I took people's advices at that time. So my advice would be for the guys that are today at the age of 25, whatever step you're going to take in life when it comes to career, personal life, whatever it is, always speak to people that are 5 to 7 years older to you. Say to them, at the age of 25, when you were here, did you have this issue? Did you have this problem? How did you resolve it? And trust me, people will be able to assist you or to advise you how to resolve that issue or the problem that you have today.
Tell us about the issue, and you said you were the middleman. What happened?
So cut the story short. I don't want to go on. So I always had this dream of getting into the hospitality industry. It's an industry that I have a very deep passion of, and I think so. That's the only reason why I always push for tourism, and I love everything that is there for tourism. But yeah, so I made an investor very happy at that time. Made him a few millions of dirhams out of a deal here in the UAE. And then he was like, "Mohammed, let's do something." I was like, Ramadan's coming up. Why don't we do a Ramadan tent? He was like, "Sure, why not?" And he read about it. I got him some numbers, and it was all profitable. Unfortunately, at that time, there was some conflict happening around the GCC when we approached. So I think so. The first mistake was, and I think so. These are all signs from God giving me, but I was not looking into it. So we got the approval for the project, and we didn't get approval for the shisha license from Dubai municipality, and I pushed and pushed and I pushed till I got it. And so they gave us, at that time, Miras Holding gave us a land on the Jumeirah beach, just on Kite Beach, to have our Ramadan tent. Very beautiful setup. sunset during best view you would get in town. And it was a project that I really loved a lot. And but I learned a lot of mistakes. So anyways, so we didn't complete 24 hours in pre-launch. It was a few days before Ramadan. Guys come up, say you need to close up. There's a خلينا نقول أمر يعني في الموضوع. You need to close down because you're in a residential area, and a lot of the community are not happy. So then they moved us to City Walk. But yeah, the GCC conflict happened. We were depending a lot over there. I took a lot of risks. But again, you know, it's not something I invested in. Miras had to reimburse us a lot, but they didn't in the end. Went to the court. I, by mistake, signed the paper where I should not have signed the paper during that time, but because I was hungry to make money out of this project.
Thank you for sharing your humble advice. Really, you just have to pay attention to what you sign. Listen to other people who are a little bit older, maybe with experience in the thing you want to do.
Yeah, and I think so. The main thing was, you know, when the company or the event management company, when they raised a case against me, I think so it was about 3 million dirhams. I ended up paying about 200 and 300, close to 300,000 dirham. But again, you know, with legal fees, with court lawyers and blah, blah, blah. But people say to me, don't you regret? I say, no, I don't regret. Why should I regret? This was a lesson that I learned. And I would advise people tomorrow around me, before they take any step, for them to do the same thing, to take advices from people and not to ignore people's advices, because sometimes if someone's giving you advice, listen to it. And I think so that was a mistake I did. And funny enough, the person that actually gave me an advice not to go through with this was my own mother. And I ignored her. Yeah. And yeah, it was, I wish I never ignored. You know, I was always trying to prove myself. Because, you know, again, I go back to my childhood, being in Australia during September 11, during all of these catastrophes that was taking place over there at that time, or in the world at that time. You know, I always had to prove to myself as an Arab that I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. And I think so, again, when this Ramadan tent thing came up, I said, you know, I can do it. Why not? I should do it. Right, it hit me very badly. But again, I didn't take it as a regret. I took it as a lesson that I need to learn from.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. I know it's a personal story for
very
you.
Very personal.
But look, I think you don't become where you are without going through losses, right? Like if you weren't maybe bullied in Australia at the time, maybe you thought it's bad, or you weren't put down by others, you wouldn't learn how to tolerate.
True.
We live in a country that's we have so many nationalities that live
True.
here. You don't learn tolerance,
True.
and maybe you learn tolerance, maybe you
True.
learn patience. All
True.
of those virtues, I think life teaches you. So Mohammad, we're, this was great. We're now moving to the rapid fire round. I'm going to ask you questions. You can answer in one word, in one sentence, or if you must, you can go overboard.
Sure. No.
So Mohammad, rapid fire round. And we're going to ask you first, what is the first app you check when you wake up in the morning?
Crypto.com.
What's a mistake people make when they pitch you something?
I think so. They do not do their studies properly before they come and they pitch it to me. So then you find me going and doing that study for them and giving it back, saying to them, what you pitched me was wrong. This is a ABC. Don't give me ABZ. I want to see ABCD in front of me. And I think so. This is, and again, I don't blame people. I blame the way that they sell it to you or they pitch it to you, because pitching is always the most important part. And I believe if me as Mohammed, I was able to convince someone to invest $600 million, $500 million, $300 million, $50 million, then I think so, it's, the way that I was pitching to them was always correct. So anyone that would come and pitch, I will not say to them, you're wrong. I would accept what they're pitching, take it, fix it, and give it back to them, say, now pitch it to me. And I think so that's a soft side in me, that I always like to help others and to make sure that they know what they're pitching at the end of the day.
Nice. I know you just, we spoke earlier, you said you just came back from London. I assume that was a really nice trip. But if you were to relax somewhere in the UAE, where is your go-to place? Like when Mohammed switches off, what does that day look like, or what does that place look like for you?
Mohammed does never switch off, but when I do switch off, and I have promised myself I have to do it on a quarterly basis now. If in the UAE, I would there are two favorite spots that I like going to. One is the Royal Atlantis. It's just nice to be there for the weekend. You just switch off. I tend sometimes to be a kid going to the water park, enjoying the rides over there, using the restaurant outlets that they have over there. A new place that was introduced to me was Marsa Al Arab, the new Jumeirah Marsa Al Arab, a very beautiful hotel that I also plan to use it not oftenly, but when I need to switch off. But I think so. Dubai and Abu Dhabi are the. Ras Al Khaimah is also another option where it's nice for you to switch off. I would say during COVID I would do it where distance working was good, so I would book myself, and the Intercontinental was just open in Ras Al Khaimah, and just sit in front of the beach and work out of there. It was
sit in front of the beach and still work.
Yes.
You're always working, it seems.
Yeah, I am. Again, I go back to His Highness Sheikh Maktoum bin Rashid when he said, "You're not going to be any normal child while growing up. You will be someone." And again, if you go back to the UAE embassy in Australia, and you open the cabinet drawer. I remember they used to have a cabinet drawer. I don't know now with the technology if they do have it or not, but I still remember one of the ambassadors saying to me after I left and came back to the UAE, he's like, "Mohammed, that day I was going through the archive, and the file 001 was Mohamed Al Hakim.
Oh, wow.
And file 002 was between you, file 001 and 002 was a 4-year gap or 5-year gap. So he said, Tara, you were the first Emirati to come and study in Australia."
Wow.
So from that day, I always said, and I always like to go back to Shah Mohammed Rashid's quotes when he says, our mission to Mars, our mission to Moon, we were always the first to do things. And I think so that's how I like to connect myself, that whatever I want to do today, I always want to be the first that I'm doing it.
What was your mom thinking to send you as the first person there and no other Emirati had gone? Like, how did you...
I think so she fell in love with the architect of the school more than she falling in love with the education system. But again, I think so it was not because of, again, it was a very expensive school. Let me be very honest, it was about at that time, it was about 450 to 500,000 dirhams a year to study. So it's one of the top 10 most expensive schools in the world to be educated in. But again, it was not about why she sent me. The reason was, I think so, she was seeing how people over here were getting spoiled very quickly whilst growing up, and she didn't want to connect me with the group that I was going and coming back with. She didn't want to hear me at the age of 16 or 17 saying, "I want a Porsche."
So 1 second, you get sent to one of the top expensive schools, but then you're doing part-time jobs all the time.
Yeah, because that's how they taught us.
Learning the value of money.
So 3 things they taught us in boarding school is you always need to find your way. Number 2, you always need to give back to the community. Number 3, they made us to choose in year 10 to do community service or in the Army or the Air Force or the Navy, in the Australian Army, Australian Air Force or Navy. And I did it. And I was in the military for 2.5 years. It was one of the best times because it really taught me a lot of things. One of the main things that it taught me was punctuality. And who knows, Mohammed, I'm never late. I'm always early. I'll always arrive to a meeting 5-10 minutes early. I will always put that in my calendar. If our meeting starts at 11 o'clock, I'm going to put it at 10:45 or 10:50. Again, with traffic here in the UAE, I always like to be early. Sometimes because of traffic, you're sometimes 5-10 minutes late. People do understand that. But I always like to show that impression that I'm there early, arrive early. So, you always need to show the best impression of yourself to people.
Yeah. Mohammed, if you weren't in crypto, what would you be doing? If crypto didn't exist in the world?
If crypto did not exist in the world, I was recently introduced to a content creator life. It was about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And it was actually from the ministry itself, where they wanted someone to speak in English and free of cost.
Free of cost means they don't pay you, or you don't, like, how?
So they don't need to pay others when it comes to laws and regulations. Someone taking out the right information when legislations are being passed today. But anyways, it got me into that career, and that's when I said to myself, you know what? I don't mind being this part of the career, not as a social media influencer, but someone speaking there on behalf of the government. And for 6 months, I was hoping to. I was dreaming to be, so in the US you have the spokesperson for the White House. So I wanted to be something very similar here in the UAE in English.
But I've seen your content; it's really cool.
It is. I have stopped doing content creator because I've been too busy with crypto. But again, if I would not be in the crypto world, I would have chosen two lines, or I would have gone very deep into being the voice and the name for the UAE, and that's how I like to look at it, because I always like to put my country in the best picture that I can. Number two would be probably going back into aviation or the hospitality industry, and the main reason is because I see these are the two industries that are booming very heavily, and it's not bad to be a part of it. There was a time in my career where I would dream being the CEO of a Jumeirah group. And people would say, "But Mohammad, there's alcohol, there's this, there's that. It does not look good for you as an Arab, as a Muslim being working over there." I was like, still, it doesn't mean that I need to sell that, right? At the end of the day, I need to sell the Emirati hospitality. And, that's the main reason why I always had that dream of being in Jumeirah Group, because every time I see the name of Jumeirah, I believe that brand needs more for me, or someone that can do more. But you can only bring and I'm not trying to be racist or anything, but you cannot bring a British or an American to sell an Emirati, as they say, an Emirati culture and experience. You always need to put an Emirati out there to sell the culture and experience. And I think so. That's that's an area.
Fact.
That's a fact.
You go to a country, and then you expect the person that owns it to sell it, or as close as that possible. And it's just the nature of how it is.
It's funny enough, I actually had a friend coming from Australia, James, and I still remember he jumps in the cab one morning, and he tells the cab driver, "Take me to an Emirati place to have breakfast." So he took him to a restaurant in Satwa called Ravi.
Yeah.
And Ravi is an Indian restaurant, and he was like, "This is the nice." So he comes up to me, James, in the afternoon saying, "I had an Emirati cuisine today." And I was like, "What did you have?" He was like, I had keema, I had paratha, I had this, I had that. I was like, "Huh? There was no Emirati breakfast. Where did you go?" So he was showing me pictures on his phone. I was like, "Nobody." So that's where I realized.
James went off course.
Yeah. So then the next day, I remember taking him to Arabian tea house. I actually took a day off just to show him the Emirati side of us, and then I invited him home for lunch. And I was like, this is how things are done here in the UAE. So he was very shocked, but he was very convinced.
So look, Mohammed, with this whole thing about content, okay, and they say now that Emiratis need to be pushing content as opposed to like different nationalities wearing the Emirati thobe, kandora, and doing thing. Do you think more Emiratis will get into content creation to fill this, to kind of?
I think so. I really need to give credit to people when it comes to for them that passed that law and regulation, and I believe they've also been doing a great job. So I really need to give the credit to His Excellency Sheikh Abdullah Al Hamid, His Excellency Sayyid Al Attar, Her Excellency Alia Hamadi, and Khadija from the UAE Government Media Office and from the UAE Media Council. They have put in great programs there for Emiratis to become influencer and content creators. And I believe it's just the Emiratis themselves that need to go for that. When it comes to government content, I always believe it's better for the government for themselves to put their own employees that are presentable in front of the camera, because at the end, they are the ones that will be able to send the message. I always had that dream of me being that one person that speaks, because really saying I was the only English speaker under the federal government that would be out there speaking in English when it comes to content creators. as a content creator.
Right.
I still remember at the 1 billion summit, I was trying to see someone just being at the line of the government itself, not doing other things.
You're saying like a pure government
Yeah,
Emirati
yeah.
who's find the
100% government.
Okay.
So again, like what they have back in the U.S. as a White House spokesperson. So you have someone as the UAE spokesperson, but in English, and where he just literally does, because let's be honest,
rules, staff, education,
everything,
yeah.
and just there for the federal government. So whatever the Prime Minister cabinet today passes as laws and legislations, that someone should be out there to speak about
In
it.
English or in Arabic?
In English.
Okay.
Because let's be honest, our audience today is 80% are English, 10% are, or let's say, I don't know.
Speak English.
70%, 60 to 70% do speak English. And 90% of our viewers today are not watching traditional TV anymore. They're all on social media. So that's the best place for you to go. They don't want to see someone that is very older in age speaking, that is in his 50s and 60s speaking in English. They want to see someone that is young.
Relate, so they can relate.
Yeah, so they can relate and they can understand whatever is being passed, because again, I still remember when the law was passed when it comes to content creating and UAE nationals and so on. And the way that it came out, a lot of people in the expat community took it in the wrong way, but
For the people that don't get the law, it's the law that says that.
Yes, and this is, I think, so one thing I really enjoyed working in the government was when they approached me to speak about any laws and regulations that are gonna come out, or when Emiratization fines were gonna come out, or the 2% reminding companies about 2% Emiratization. I still remember that what it was done very beautifully, because I was sent to a course for 9 months under the UAE media office that was run by His Excellency Saeed Al-Attar and Alia and Khadija Abdullah were there, all three of them, and they did an amazing program for us. We were the first batch, I remember, that graduated from there, and we were government government content creators program, where we were purely government employees working in the government. And out of the group, I was the only person that spoke English, and everyone else was in Arabic. But again, I don't blame them for me not taking this forward. I blame other ministries that didn't want to work with me. If they have worked with me, it would have been a very successful thing. I believe the UAE Media Office did their job by training us and making sure we're prepared to be out there. But again, I believe you cannot clap with one hand, you need two hands to clap. So it should have been a joint initiative between both the government and the ministry, saying, you have Mohammad, he's there to talk in English, choose him, give him the script, and he's just going to do it for you. And I think so. I do miss it. I'll not say I don't miss it. But yeah, crypto came out of nowhere,
But crypto is also something that's super. I think
it is, and I'm actually planning to start very soon after summer doing a weekly update when it comes to content
nice.
on crypto.
You should,
crypto,
Mohammed. People want to hear from you.
Yeah,
I want to hear from you.
Yeah. So no, actually, I was actually speaking to our group president and our COO, Eric Anzani. I was telling him, what do you think? He was like, no, بالعكس, I love it. I actually miss seeing you on
for people that want to see you, for example, they just saw this podcast, they don't know how to follow you, or they want to get in touch with you, for example. Where is the place that you're more active on that they can get in touch with you?
I think the most place I'm active on is on Instagram. I am active on Snapchat, but that's more private. But when it comes to my life, day-to-day life, I'm more active on Instagram. I do reply as fast as I can. I do get a lot of requests on a daily basis. M.Al Hakim. I think so you'll be able then to put it
for sure
for them to see. And yeah, I'm happy. Sorry if I don't see who's following me, or if I've not followed anyone back, because the numbers are increasing. From 2,000 it's reached now to 10,000 in less than 2 months. So please send me a message. I will see it. If not, send me an email also.
Mohammad, you're sharing so much information on tech, on crypto, on your personal life. So thank you so much for being here.
Welcome.
For everyone that's watching here, I hope you guys benefited from this episode. If you have this far and you haven't pressed the subscribe button, Mohammad, what do you have to say to people that are watching and not pressing the subscribe button?
Subscribe, because he's doing an amazing job, and you should see more of the podcast sessions that he does. and inshallah he has more interesting people than me.
Mohammad, you were
in this show, inshallah.
you did amazing. Thank you
Thank
guys for watching. Thank you for being here, Mohammad.
You know, we have this famous saying in Arabic when we say "سو خير وعقف البحر,"
Yeah.
means do something good and just throw it in the sea.